Please patronize our sponsors who support the Guild and our mission to educate members and non-members to enjoy and enrich their woodworking skills and experiences. You Pick Hardwood Lumber, Rockler Woodworking and Hardware, and the W.D. Quinn Saw Company.
Okay, we're on. So, sorry for the weather, and sorry for the show up tonight. We have a lot less people here than usual, and that's probably partly because people were scared to come in with what the weather report was, and I think partly people that understand that we were just going to have more of a business meeting tonight know that it's not going to be a presentation. So, but anyway, so we'll go ahead. So I'm Jay Knopfsinger. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president until about another 40 minutes or so tonight. And so welcome to the April meeting of the Woodworkers Guild. And I usually, to begin with, there's not going to be many show and tells, but we do have a show and tell every meeting. But we, again, don't have a lot of people that came expecting to even do that once they heard it was going to be a business meeting more. But there's going to be one show and tell, and I think it's Alan Brown, and we'll do it at the end though. So before I forget it, since I mentioned Alan, at the show he brought in some beautiful pins that he made. I had those. I personally had them to begin with, and I'm not positive where I put them right now. I thought I gave them to somebody to bring back to a different meeting, but there was also a small walnut bowl, so it might have got to the shop, and it might have been put in one of those boxes that got put up above, maybe in the shop. So those are things that we owe Alan to get back to them then. So, okay, as few people as there are here, are there any new members or visitors? Good. Okay, so wait till a microphone comes to you, and would you please just stand up and give us your name and how you heard about us and what's going on.
Bob Coulter. I came across you online looking for opportunities to explore woodworking. Most of my day job I'm in my head and needed something with my hands and a bit more creative. So glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Thank you.
I'm AJ Rosenblatt. I also came across you guys online. I've been a little dangerous with my woodworking so far, but I'm pretty new. I actually built a couple things and impressed myself, so I thought I would go a little further, and so here I am.
Okay, thank you. Any more? There's one over there. Okay.
I'm Paul Hellenbrand, and I came across it at the show and also online.
Good to have you.
My name is Dan. Nice to meet you. I have been in woodworking for about 5 or 6 years now, and I just don't know anybody who does it with me in person, so I'm loving getting to meet all of you.
Great to have you. Yeah.
Sima Waxman. I'm in Bill's class right now. Thank you, Bill.
Great.
Teaching me stuff. I'm doing a little bit of woodworking here and there for a long time, but nothing ever formal, and so I really appreciate all of the knowledge and wisdom that everybody passes down. It's extremely generous, and I just appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everybody? Okay, next. Before we do that, because it isn't on the agenda, because I wasn't sure until tonight what we would or would not have. But we talked about in the past getting back in the business of having Guild logo material, specifically aprons and caps that we've had in the past. In the past we got them from, what's the name of the practice or the business again? Recognitions. And this is Jeff Morgan. He is a Guild member, and he provided those in the past. So Mike Sistak and he are good friends back in the Air Force days, and even past that at Scott Air Force Base. And so Mike told me about Jeff and put me in touch with him, and we, as of just tonight, have a supply of aprons and caps. Okay, I think they're beautiful, and I wear the appropriate pants to display this in too. So we have right now a supply of 25 each of the aprons, and not counting one tiny one or one small one and so on, because in the past they've had some short aprons and didn't think they probably would be as wanted. But we have one just to see if anybody would like those, so we can order more at any time. There are black as well as khaki hats. This could be more of a contrast. This can be more of a kind of a semi-matching and so on. They do have. You can. There are wonderful pockets, 3 pockets along the bottom there. You could have gotten the heavier duty pockets up here too for like a pencil or something, but that would have made it hard to figure out where the logo goes, and it would have been a lot more expensive and harder to come up with and so on. So I really appreciate Jeff, and he's already talked to me about some other potential uses of things like the caps, and actually giving one to each of the shop monitors if they volunteer, and have the logo, something on each side. He's got some ideas if anybody wants to talk to him about it. So we actually have them right now. We have a box of them. The keeper of all things related to these aprons and so on is Bob Castigar. He's right there. So he has a box of caps, and there are both khaki and black hats and so on. And so if anybody wants to purchase them, they are going to be $40 and $20, right? Is that what we said? So $40 for the aprons and $20 for the caps. And so we made it a round number and so on. If anybody has those and would like to purchase one or the other or both a set tonight, they're available though. Go talk to Bob though. Any questions about our new aprons and caps? Okay, so they will primarily be kept here in a protective container and put out and available at each of the meetings that we have in the future then. Okay, or any questions about that? All right, so the toy program, moment of silence for Rich Weitzman. So if those of you who don't know, Rich Weitzman, and by the way, he goes by either Rick or Rich. I talked to him specifically about this, and various jobs he's had over his lifetime. It depended on what it got started or whatever. I think he's more known as Rick in his community where he lived. I think he's more known as Rich to us in the guild, and he didn't really care, so he said he's fine with both. He passed away about two weeks ago. We've had great trouble figuring out things like next of kin and so on, and about arrangements for any kind of burial or whatever is going on because of his lack of having near relatives. He lived with his mother at the inn, father earlier than that, probably was an only child, and there really we can't come up with that. I had a last minute call to his next door neighbor, who's the last one who was talking to him as when he was in the hospital, and he hasn't called me back yet tonight to give the most up-to-date information. But if anything happens, I will be doing that. I'll send it to all and so on to give you more information. I would like to have a moment of silence for the passing of Rich Weitzman, though. Thank you. So I was just given by Brian another thing that just came in the newspaper or whatever. Another of our members just passed away that I did not know. A J. Walter Henderson from Imperial, 85 years old, and was a member of the Guild. And so that was just recently. There's a picture of him here, so if anybody knows him or doesn't know him or knows him and didn't know that he passed away, that's just very recently, so. Okay, so for the toy program report, is Steve Meadows here? Okay, so Steve has volunteered to be the head of the toy committee, although I think he has at least 6 members of the committee as well. So, so Steve, if you have a little report, kind of an update, the most recent numbers and so on.
Well, right now we have delivered 402 toys. We've got at least 100 more that will be delivered this week. And we've got toys coming in, which is good because our inventory of toys has been pretty low. We don't know how many Rich had at his house and in his car, but we know there are some. And I just appreciate everyone bringing in the toys. One thing though, when you make the toys, be sure and inspect them for sharp edges, make sure they're sanded properly, and if you put wheels on a vehicle, make sure they roll. My wife has had at times trying to fix those, but it keeps her busy.
Okay, Steve, those are numbers for the month of April, this past month? Okay, and
Yes.
I don't know if you ever have or do a running total of the total number, because the last I heard, it was over 87,000 toys that have been delivered since 1984 or so.
How about 87,662?
There you go, ask and you receive.
We didn't practice that either.
Really? Okay, next. So upcoming classes and presentations, we always do that for where we are right now. And Bill Schucott has been involved in that for a long, long time. And it may end up being more people involved. I don't know if he wants to say anything about that or not. But anyway, so Bill Schucott is going to give the update on the upcoming presentations as well as classes.
Presentations. We've got the elections tonight. There is no presentation. Next month is a presentation that Dan Lender's going to make on the bedroom set build that he did. In June, we're looking to have a presentation with Christmas gift ideas. And if you have something that you want to submit on that, talk to Bob Ryan on that. In July, we're going to do a similar thing with jig demonstrations. And if you have a jig that you'd like to show off, send me an email and I'll put you on the agenda. And in August, Joe Turner's going to talk to us about how he makes wooden puzzles. Christmas gift ideas, contact Bob Ryan. And jig demonstrations, contact me. All of them, if you have a jig that you want to bring in and show it off, obviously if it's for a table saw, we're not going to set that up, but if you have photos and drawings or sketches so that other people can build from these ideas. Classes in April, the spray finishing class was last Sunday. That went over very well. On the 21st, there's a shorty table saw class. For those of you who don't know, the shorty classes are from 8 to 9 on Saturdays when we have open shop, ahead of the open shop hours, and the shorty classes are free.
21st Sunday.
Well, okay. It's Sunday then. The shorty classes are shown on the website, and we would appreciate you signing up for those classes if you're interested in attending, just so the guy doing the presentation knows how many people to expect. On the 28th, we have the 7th class of the current version of fundamentals. Busy month in May. We're going to have a class to teach, a one-day class that's going to teach both through and half-blind dovetails for those of you who'd like to learn how to cut a dovetail by hand. And the guy that is going to teach it is really good. Not me. Not me. May 11th, there's a shorty bandsaw class. The 12th is another fundamentals class. Nearing the end, that's a 10-session class. The 18th is a shorty class on hand planes. The 25th, there is a shorty planer and joiner for those who'd rather do it not by hand. And on the 26th is a beginner's woodworking class, which is a prerequisite for the next fundamentals class for those who are not familiar with the power equipment in our shop. June, we're going to wrap up fundamentals between June 1st and June 23rd. There is a standalone class on how to cut a mortise and tenon by hand. There is a class on building a small box. And on June 30th is the beginning of the next session of fundamentals. There are, I think, 3 people signed up already. July, we're going to have an introduction to carving, which is not a real popular thing in our guild, but hopefully we can introduce some people to that. And then more of the fundamentals second semester in 2024. There's some upcoming classes, cutting boards, introduction to hand planes, which goes way beyond the shorty class. There's a class on building a mantle clock with a bent top, a class on federal style inlays and banding. Both those are 2-day classes. There's a class on oils and shellac finishing by hand, a class on hand plane appliances like a shooting board, thank you, several other things as well. And there's a class on, if you want to buy an old plane and fix it up, on how to do that. A special thanks to our outgoing president, Jay. Jay has done an outstanding job leading the guild. I personally appreciate it. I think many other people do too. He's continued growing the guild and provided leadership for that. And we've had increased participation of members in our various activities. And as demonstrated by the table over here, he likes to do the yummy treats at our meetings. In addition, we have a little something. A little something that I'd like to present to him, courtesy of Don Turner. So hang that on your wall and enjoy it. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you so much.
Can I have you up here, bro? I was asked to say something really brief, and I will be brief. In addition to the plaque, the board also wanted to say thank you with a little extra gift card. And so this is to the First Watch. I guess that's healthy food. I've never been there, and so, but that's for you. And normally we just recognize the president, but we decided the vice president usually runs 1 year and then they get out of here quick. Bill decided not to do that. Bill's been here for 4 terms. He's been under Wayne, he's been under Vicky, he was under Brian, and he was under Jay. So 4 years, so just a kind of an appreciation. We got your gift card as well, Bill. So.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Wayne, do you have anything, update on the Christmas toy program?
We've got 600 and something toys in stock, and we're building more. If you'd like to know more about the Christmas toy program, talk to me after the meeting. or we've got toy build going on tomorrow, 10 to 2 out at Faust Park.
Thank you, Wayne. And Build a Table program. Tom Turney.
We had a couple work days out in the shop. We put together 12 table kits for the side table. I've got 6 of those in the back of my truck out the door here where you came in from the parking lot. I don't want to take any of them home, so if you would be so kind to take one. It takes a couple hours to assemble it. All the dowel holes have been drilled, the legs, all the parts have been cut, the cross, half lap cross have been cut in the top. So all you need to do is final sand and apply a finish. I typically do shellac on the lower part and polyurethane on the top. So to date, I think we have contributed 226 tables. That's over 2 years, and so we're into our 3rd year with the program. It's a very good. It helps the Home Sweet Home charity, which is mentioned on our website. So if you were interested, there are measured drawings on the website under community service, Home Sweet Home. So, I also have some raw wood, rough sawn wood on the truck for anybody. So, any questions? Great, thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Just interestingly, when they picked up the wood at my house the last time, I had a couple pieces of sycamore, and you gave them to Wayne. So Wayne stumped me. He showed me a model of a giraffe, and that was actually made out of that sycamore. And the way it was cut and so on, maybe somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that if you quarter saw sycamore, that's lace wood. I think that's what I've always heard. But anyway, so there's an interesting pattern on the back of that if anybody wants to look at that. Okay, the feasibility study for the new shop. We're moving along. So we have kind of ruled out being able to afford to lease a building of any kind, because we think we found the ideal place if we had been able to think about that. Quinn saw the sharpening and so on. They had a wonderful, wonderful potential there, but there's no way that's going to happen. We looked into several other things too. We've had a long relationship with Faust Park, and a lot of us would like to continue that relationship. And I think we're ending up looking more towards having, if we end up doing anything, that it would actually be in Faust Park again. They have been willing to give us some potential land that they're willing to let us build something on that wouldn't interfere with the atmosphere of Faust Park and so on. Most recently, Bill Schucott has a longtime friend who is an architect, and they've been working together. Initially, so he gave us some drawings to begin with, which would have been about a 5,000 square foot shop, and we think that this would become more affordable if we did it in steps. We don't need a 5,000 square foot shop, but we might someday. So our idea is to build something maybe about half that big if we end up building anything, and then to have it be addable too. Having the space, the footprint and the land and so on, that it could be added to if necessary. I'm not going to show you those drawings yet, but he just got back with the architect as recently as within the last week or so. Bill, you want to?
As recently as yesterday. Let me just add a few comments. I did a survey of all the equipment in our shop and gave that information to the architect and told him we were looking at something in the range of a 5,000 square foot shop, and had him do a layout based on that. What blew me away was all the white space. It was just way too big, way more than we need, certainly way more than we need now. So we regrouped and said, let's try something more like 2,500 square feet. And I took the drawings that he had made and made a sketch essentially of how can we rearrange that and do it with 2,500 square feet. And he's working on those drawings right now. He also made the suggestion that a very economical way for us to proceed might be to use pole barn construction. And he actually sent me to the Menards website where you can put the criteria in and they'll lay out the building for you. And I did that. Where we are at this point is he's going to put together some drawings for us to show what the layout would be like. The concept is it'd be a building 40 by 60. It would be a 12-foot eave, so high walls, with like a clear story around 3 sides, and then the back side where we'd expand, we wouldn't pay to put windows in that. And we'll put benches back there so you'll be in the dark. And I expect those drawings are going to be put together, in a week or so. The idea is that we would then have something to show to the people at Faust Park of what we have in mind. In my mind, a way that we might be able to do this more on the economical side, if we do a pole barn, would be instead of making it metal siding, we'd make it wood siding. There isn't anybody here that knows how to do carpentry, so we'd struggle with that. And we'd probably have to pay a contractor to put in a concrete floor, and probably want somebody with a machine to dig foundations for us rather than doing that by hand. Go ahead, Leo. 1,450 square feet. So it's about 1,000 square feet more. And that layout has actually shown on the layout a second table saw, a second jointer, a second planer, and I think it has a second big bandsaw. And there's still lots of white space. So whether or not it would prove to be a big enough space to have a meeting like this, we're probably in less than 2,500 square feet here, but that might remain to be seen. Obviously, you have to buy some chairs. No AC, no, it'll have AC, heating and air conditioning. So,
Is there any thought of having a small classroom in that building?
only if you'll pay for it.
That's the second.
Donations over here.
Our donation supervisor.
I would see the second edition, if that ever happens or when it happens, to be a lot of that kind of stuff then too. So, but now you already have classes.
So that
in
sort
the
of brings you up to
1,400
date
square
on
feet.
where we are. At the point that we get the next set of drawings put together, we'll have something to show everybody.
Okay, any other questions? It's kind of exciting for the future, but we're not there yet. And eventually, after we find out from Faust Park and so on, we would probably have to, not probably, we would be putting together some kind of capital program to start to asking for donations and so on. Here's what we want to do, here's why we need it, and so on. We haven't had that information yet to be able to go out and actually do that. So, that's exciting. I told them I'm willing, as the past president, to continue to be on that committee at least, so, even though I won't be the president anymore. So. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is Jason Sankovich here? There. Okay, I'm embarrassed that it's taken me a whole year to kind of figure out that our mentor program seems to have dwindled to nearly nothing. It seems to me, at least. And I don't know what happened or why it happened or whatever. But I think that's a very important thing. We've talked a little bit in the past about having, one of my disappointments is the fact that we have a whole lot of new members. We're getting lots and lots and lots of new members, but we're also having about an equal number that are not renewing and so on. And I think it's very important that we try to keep them happy and try to make sure that we're doing everything we can to decrease that number of people who are not renewing so that we really can continue our growth method and so on. And one of the ways to do that is certainly we advertise. We have a mentor program. We advertise, we need to do it. So Jason Sankovich, one of our directors, has been willing to volunteer to kind of take that program over, and it's going to take a while. So I'm going to let him tell you what he thinks about things and so on. But you're going to be getting some surveys. I want to tell you up front, you're going to be getting some questions about would you be willing to be a mentor, and would you be interested in being a mentee of having a mentor and so on. There's going to be that kind of thing, information gathering before we start talking about matching people up and so on. So Jason.
One of the things that's made Jay a great president is he does so much work. He just did my job for me. So thanks, Jay. Everybody, look for surveys. No, one of the main reasons I joined the Guild a few years ago was because I wanted, like you mentioned, Dan, to find people who were actually also doing this hobby. But I wanted some mentorship so I could get a little bit better, be a little bit safer. So seeing that this program needed some help, I wanted to step in. Now, one of the things I want to work on is what does it mean to be a mentor for the Guild, right? How long is that engagement? How do you interact with each other? What kind of areas can we offer mentorship? And someone's cell phone is ringing, I believe. I recognize that sound. Anyway, so that's part of what's going to happen. So there's going to be a definition of what that means, right? So we're not just going to say, do you want to be a mentor? And you go, well, what does that mean? Am I working every day with somebody? Am I putting hours and hours and hours in a week? So we're going to define what that looks like. We're going to send a survey out, like Jay mentioned, to see if you're interested, B, where your specialties kind of are. And then we'll send out another one asking, and when new members join, you put in whether you're looking for mentorship or so forth. So we have some of that information. You may get another survey asking again. I hate surveys as much as the next person, but it's kind of what we have to do at this point. And then I'll get to play matchmaker, maybe with some others, and we will pair people up and get the program rolling again. If you have any questions about it, I think, Tom, what's my email? Jason Sankovich at SLWG. Mentorship. Oh, is it mentorship? Yeah. Oh, that's even, yeah, Sankovich is hard. Mentorship is great. Mentorship at slwg.org. Shoot me an email if you want to ask me any specific questions, or hit me up here after the meeting.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for volunteering, though. I think this is an important kind of reactivation of something that we've had in the past, and it kind of slipped for some reason. If you get a questionnaire and so on, some of the things you might mention, you might put on there are some limits that you have as a mentor, if you're going to be a mentor. For instance, when I've been a mentor in the past, Mike Sistek has sent me a few people, but the point is, we live way the heck over in Metro East. I would like to have anybody who lives in the Metro East who wants to have a mentor. I'm perfectly happy, and I've had a couple of really good people and so on that we've developed nice relationships with. You could put down something like that. So it'd be silly for me to be getting somebody from West County and vice versa and so on for them to come over. So you can add those kinds of criteria for the matchmaking process. So. Okay, any other questions? Is Craig Altman here? I thought he was going to be here. So does anybody else know a lot about the West Bridge School Toy Build Program? I don't even have the date written down here. I do have it someplace, but I don't have it here. You have that, Bill?
May 22nd. What Craig is heading up is an effort to do toy kits for fifth graders at the West Ridge Elementary School. We did this last year. There are going to be 80 or 85 kids in the class. He has people building the kits. But what he's going to need next is some people that volunteer to participate and supervise the kids because they'll have questions. Last year, it was done with kits that were left over from a previous program, and some of the kits were a little more complicated. The teachers asked that they be simpler kits this year, and I think that's what he's got coming together. But he is going to need some people to volunteer to supervise. I've done that in the past, and believe me, it's a lot of fun to watch these kids put it together and to fight off the parents who want to help them.
Thank you, Bill. We're very well known for our outreach programs, and this would be in that category. So please help as you can. So, okay, next. So one of the things, many things that Bill Schuchat has been kind of responsible for, or heading for several years again, is the picnic that we have every year. Do I have the date right, Bill? Yes. September 7th. So we had a wonderful picnic this past year, and one of the things, as I was talking to Bill, he told me that if we wanted to get reservations, again, you do it quickly because they fill up quickly. So he had the forethought, and we went ahead and did that, and it's already paid for, I think. This year's is already paid for. But we need somebody to be the leader for that picnic. And so, hey, it's already, the building is already paid, is there. It's already ours, it's already paid for, and so on. It's got cover this time in case it rains or something like that. It's not out in the open. So this person who's responsible would just kind of be getting together people who would end up getting, we almost always have fried chicken, and then we have people who come to the picnic, bring something, a dish of some kind, and so on, and we end up having a great time. So I know we did last year. We had a tour of the old buildings that have been redone and so on in that area with an incredibly knowledgeable guide and so on. It was really a great experience. I think we've talked a little bit this year. Help me, David, looking at the house, the governor's house and so on. I think that's what we talked about. So anyway, as an added fun thing to be doing at this year's picnic. So anybody anybody like to stand up and say, hey, I could do that? And then at the same time would be putting in the reservation for next year. As we found out, it's good to do that a whole year ahead of time. Would anybody like to help out? Please, just volunteer to be the lead on this. So, well, I guess I will be doing the putting out a message to everybody in the guild to try to do that. And it doesn't take that much work, but it does for one person to be doing all these things every year and so on. So please think about it. Think about volunteering to be able to do that, and ask Bill if you have any other questions about what that might entail and so on. So I'll send a letter out to everybody then. Okay, next. If you read my last president's letter, you know that one of the other things that I feel strongly about in trying to decrease the number of people who are not renewing and so on is to make availability of open shop hours more available. I know that's been one of the things that's been mentioned by those people who have been interviewed or surveyed as to why they did not renew. So and also, if we're talking about new buildings and stuff like that, we need to kind of be able to say, you know what, we are absolutely optimally using the space that we have now. And we're not. But on the other hand, David is an incredible shop manager, and then I think the only reason he's even able to get by is the fact that he works in Faust Park, and he's kind of around that there a lot. But I think one of the current shop monitors, what we're getting at is we're looking at increasing open shop hours. And the potential places that you could do that would be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, is that correct? Where there's one 4-hour slot now. And so there could be an extra slot in each of those places if you wanted to. It could be just like the weekend, having a 9 in the morning to 1 and then a 1 to 5 or something like that. And then Mondays are a day that doesn't have any open shop hours. I'm not proposing that we do 16 extra hours to begin with, but I'm thinking that maybe we ought to at least start with one 4-hour shift and kind of go from there. But if somebody would at least volunteer to help David, what I don't want is to make his job more difficult, because he's at his limits. He works incredibly hard as it is. As an example, I think it'd be extra unnecessary work to take his current schedule for shop monitors, which is already done through December, and say, we're going to throw that away and start over and everything. What I have in mind is leave that just the way it is for now, and then have another helper person come up with a new list of just these extra hours. I don't care if it's 4 hours, 8 hours, or whatever it happens to be, just as an example of a way that David could be helped and not having to take that on himself then.
I would just mention or suggest that we first determine if we're going to extend the hours on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or if we're going to add on Mondays. And I was thinking that I know that everyone's excited about another survey, but I would like to get information from my current shop managers. I mean, a lot of them said, yes, I would be willing to do additional hours, but that doesn't mean that they're willing to do additional hours on Wednesday afternoon until 5, for
Correct.
example. They may be willing to do extra hours, but maybe not knowing when those hours are may have an impact on whether or not they are willing to do extra hours. So I think we need to first find out from our existing safety monitors exactly what availability they have for these different options that we're considering.
Right.
So I think that would be the first step
Right.
in determining that. And I definitely am not throwing out my old and reworking it. We're just going to add something. We're adding to it. We've already got that set. So
Makes sense.
whatever we do, we will just be amending, making an addendum. Is that what they call it?
Are we going to consider evening hours in the summer as an option for extra time?
That is up to the board.
Right.
And I would think that, yes, that would be something that we have discussed.
Well, they close at dark, don't they?
They close a half hour after dusk, is technically when they close.
So summer would be a good option.
Summer would be, there would be opportunities in the summer if there are shop managers willing to work those hours. Okay, that's the rub, right? They got to find out when they say, yes, I'm willing to work extra hours. Does that mean any hours that I decide that they want to work? I have a feeling not. But so I would
Right.
say that would be the first step in this process, is to nail down exactly what the availability of our current shop monitors is.
Right.
Those of them that said they would be willing to do expanded hours.
Right. And the only, because right now, weekend hours, they're taken right now, right?
Weekend is pretty much full with either classes.
Unless we added some evening hours in the summer or something like that, though.
You mean on the weekend, evening on the weekend?
Yeah.
I suppose that's a possibility. We're open till 5 already on the weekends.
Because a lot of people who are wanting to do that, if they are not retired like a lot of us, and they're working all day, those extra open hours would not really help them, particularly if they're all during the day when it's the working part of the day, though.
I got it.
Right.
Correct. The younger members that are currently occupied during the regular week would like more access
Weekends.
on the weekends and evenings, probably.
So I was very encouraged by that little survey that I made, and Dave sent it out and so on. Almost everybody said yes in some form or another. There were
Correct.
very few people who say they would not do it or would not be able to do it.
They
But
said
now,
yes
we didn't give details. We didn't
to the
talk about.
generic, would you be willing to work extra hours? To the
Right.
generic, that question.
Yeah.
The specifics is where the rubber will hit the road.
Right. All right. Would you be open to having help in coming up with this extra schedule if the board decided to do that?
Let's first determine what the
Okay.
hours are, and then we'll see, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next. Okay. Alan. So we usually have, for members who aren't here before, there usually plenty of, what, Matt? Yeah.
Hey, just real quick, Matt, I'm the membership coordinator. You know, the guy who gives you your ID cards every once in a while. I'm going to be out of town a lot through the end of May. I'll be popping back in, so just be patient. I will get to it. Tom's going to take over the name tag box for the May meeting, so that'll be covered. But I just wanted to let you know, I'll get to it, but it may not be as quick as you're used to.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Alan.
Okay, when the idea came up for a enchanted village or fairy house place at Faust Park, I said, what can I do to help? And I had this old stump at home, okay? It's an old cedar stump. I had actually sawed it, a part of it off, and I thought, it's got some stuff in it I don't want, so, what can I do with it? So I decided I was going to use it to build a fairy house. And I decided on a 2-story fairy house. So this is a cutaway of the back. So you can see it says Home Sweet Home in here, okay? And it's got, you can't see it, but on the stairs going up to the door here, it has a welcome mat, okay? The roof was cut-offs from walnuts that were in the shop. Somebody had taken a walnut log into the shop and just cut off the edges. So I took the edges and I said, hey, great for a roof, okay? The hard part here, I actually, I don't know if anybody's in the carving guild here, but I actually went to one of the members of the carving guild, the guy that's the Santa Claus looking guy. Steve, okay? And I said, okay, Steve, how do I carve the back end of this, okay? And he said, get yourself a angle grinder, okay, with a big, metal plate on it, okay? Then that's what I did, and that's how I got most of this out.
Wow.
But let me tell you, I did the angle grinder bit. I used a circular saw, not a circular saw, but a hole saw, okay? And then chisels, okay? I used everything I could on this, to try to get it out. My idea was to make it, with couches and furniture and stuff like that, but I got tired. So it's got a chimney, it's got one window with the shutters and another window with shutters, okay? And that's about it. The chimney I just hand burned with a wood burning tool, okay, to make it look like bricks, okay? And it's what I call fog wood, found on ground, okay? So that's the top. And then we just painted it up, the door and some other things to make it look more fairyish, okay? So that's that. There's one thing that I wanted to just mention as, again, a little aside here. The Guild has sent out some notices on estate sales and stuff like that. You can get some wonderful things at estate sales, okay? So I wanted to thank the Guild for sending out some of those notices. I did go to the one recently and I bought pen. I like to make pens, and I got a crap load of pen stuff, let me tell you, for a pretty inexpensive price, okay? I also, at a different estate sale, I got this wood I'd never heard of before. bought a piece that weighed 26.5 pounds, okay? Not this one, but it was not a little over 4.5 feet, okay? About 11 inches and about an inch thick, and it weighed 26 pounds. I looked it up by specific gravity on the online wood database, and it's Corococo de Negro is what it's called, okay?
Wow.
I'd never heard of it before,
Yeah.
but it makes beautiful objects. I did carve one pen with it, and it's just gorgeous. So just wanted to mention that. So
Yeah.
visit your estate sales.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, can I just make a comment about your home there? That's absolutely perfect. It's just what the park is looking for. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be used by materials that are just kind of stuff laying around. That's exactly what the idea is that we're making these things out of stuff that would just be pitched otherwise or ignored, one or the other, found on ground kind of stuff. So that is a perfect example of what the park is looking for. So thank you so much.